All right, let's start. Good evening and good morning, Unicorn fam. Welcome to the Crypto Unicorns Bi-Weekly Town Hall number 29. This is Sparkly Unicorn with Witty Unicorn on Tech. Say hi.
Hi.
We're changing it up this week. As you might have read from our announcements, to account for the availability of the internal team members in LG and to provide more nuance to the town hall events. Number one, town hall events will now happen on a bi-weekly cadence. That is two times a month instead of weekly. Number two, half of the town hall events will be handled by Aaron, as usual, who is amazing at letting us visualize the long term of CU. Number three, the other half of town hall events will be handled by members of the internal team who can provide deeper knowledge on specific things such as game design and game economy. And in all other aspects, the town hall will be in a similar format as the ones we previously held. This is our 29th town hall event, perfect for closing off January to make way for the month of love. And coincidentally, the Valentine's milestone of our winter event. Let's introduce who we have on stage for today. We have Catacorn, Corbin Laguna, and LG Jeff ready to say hi, share updates, and answer questions. How about y'all introduce yourselves?
Hey all, I'm Katrina Catacorn. I'm the product director here, and you guys can ask me basically about what we're working on and what's coming up. So excited to be here. Thanks, Berkeley.
Gotcha.
Hey everyone, I'm Corbin. I'm the product manager for Crypto Unicorns. I can answer questions pertaining to economy, design, live ops, and general product operations.
Hi, I'm Jeff. I'm a lead game designer. I could also answer questions on design, economy, and features coming up.
All right, cool. Thank you so much, Katrina, Corbin, and Jeff. Are you guys ready to spill the tea and spread a hype? Prepare yourselves for the updates, Unicorn fam. I heard this was a lot. So get your notes ready. You guys want to start?
Yeah, I can jump in. So I think the thing that most of the team here has been hard at work at is on jousting. So let's kind of start with a general update there. We've been doing a lot of play tests this week, and it's been really great to see kind of everything coming together. We have the what we're calling the simulation, which is the moment where you're actually playing out and seeing everything. Looks really great. Still a few things we want to iterate on, but it's going to be really exciting. So this is kind of all in preparation for Aaron's demo with Delphi next week. So definitely go watch that and get an eye for what's going to be coming up. We still have plenty to work on, but that has the kind of core simulation and kind of the basics of how all the UI and UX is going to flow. So now that we've kind of completed or are wrapping sort of preparation for the demo, we're now kind of moving into what we're calling M3 or milestone 3. This is the final phase of development. We're sort of building all of our final lists through these play tests, getting feedback from our internal teams. Once everyone gets the demo or can watch the video with the demo in it, we'll also kind of be looking through Discord and other places for feedback and thoughts. And that will kind of build our final everything we want in for launch. And then, kind of we prioritize and think about how, what is going to make it or what is absolutely mandatory to make it versus what could come a little bit later. So most of the things that we need before launch are just the basics of hooking up last things like costs aren't working, rewards aren't working. We don't have reward pop-ups or a claim flow. We kind of have refining how the leases on the unicorns work. So all of that stuff is just in a form where it's easy to play test, but not actually ready for live consumption. So that's the bulk of what we have left to do. And then lots of iteration. So this is iterating on the visuals. We've done lots of small things to kind of communicate point information a bit clearer and trying to make the flow of the tournament itself feel exciting and rewarding. And we're also iterating a ton on the tuning. I think, Jeff can speak more to that. But there's kind of lots of changes happening about how we want the actual tournaments and the things to feel. So yeah, it's all very exciting. I think the team here has really been enjoying our play tests. I'm excited for you guys to see the demo. So watch that, and we'll review any feedback that kind of we all try and keep an eye on Discord. So do send feedback through there, or perhaps we'll do a little internal demo just with you guys so we can get more direct feedback on any last things before we kind of get ready for launch. And then the last thing we're also on Joust is still working on is the launch plans. We kind of have had multiple conversations about all the different things that we're going to do coming up for that. We have some fun ideas, and when we're going to release the jousting trailer is in on all of that. So lots of fun plans, and there's some idea for a preseason and tournament. And again, I think I can hand it to Jeff maybe to talk more about all of that. So I will hand it to him for that.
Yeah, with the launch of jousting, we want to give the community a period of time where they could interact with the feature without any sort of serious costs, and provide us feedback about how the balance feels. We've been testing it internally for a while, but that's not the same as getting real live data of players doing jousts. So we're gonna kick off jousts with a preseason period. This will be a period of several weeks where we'll be doing balance changes every 2 weeks in response to feedback, and get your input, and try and make jousting as good of a feature as it can be. Now, the end goal of the preseason is that at the end we want to do a special round of tournaments to just kick off the feature itself after you've had several weeks to play it. And we're still discussing what the prizes for this end tournament will be, but there are going to be very substantial, and should be a lot of fun after you've honed your jousting skills for a couple of weeks to see who comes out on top in this end of preseason tournament. But yeah, the format of preseason will be every 2 weeks there will be a round of balance changes, and between those 2 weeks we'll get your input. We'll probably have at least one of these town halls to talk about jousting and things you want to see. And then as the season progresses, and depending on how the community feels, we could add special tournaments that do have more substantial rewards and costs along the way. But at the end of the day, it's going to be about how the community feels, and how jousting is received once it's out and available to play.
Yeah, and following up on the mentioned tournaments and rewards, with the way jousting is designed, we have a lot of flexibility on how we create incentivized reward pools for the tournaments. Whether this be through creating an overarching leaderboard that rewards players for participation and winning with points scaling based off of tournament difficulty, or by allocating a portion of the entry costs for normal tournaments, so tournaments during the week, to a weekend style tournament with increased rewards. So that would be, you play jousting throughout the week, you earn winners tickets, and then on the weekend you can enter the weekend tournament using those winner tickets for juiced rewards. Whichever route we go, we have a lot of flexibility in regards to how we design tournament and reward structures for Joust, and yeah, we can't wait to put that in place.
Awesome. So that's, I think, everything jousting. So another big chunk of work we're all paying attention to is Shadowcorns. So Shadowcorns, we had the poll for ending throwing shade. So, we'll have all the drops and stuff. I think there's a calendar for that later, just so you guys know that is all still planned and we're figuring that out. But in terms of going forward, so we are still working on the roadmap. Jeff has kind of built out some more detailed thoughts around the different kind of phases of, Minion Forge in Act 2 and Act 3. But as we've been getting better internal processes, and we want to have more due diligence to make sure that anything we share with you guys is something that we can achievably create and that has buy-in from the whole team. All of this is sort of taking a longer time, especially with everyone being so heavily focused on jousting. So we really want to do this so that we can get you guys more details. Like, by having, the whole team bought in, we can kind of feel a lot more confident with the specifics of things. So that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to make sure we have basically everything all the way through Act 3 really figured out and really bought in by everyone, so we can share with you all of that information. So it's definitely time consuming, but it's exciting. We're kind of continuing to work on it. So I just wanted to let you guys know that it hasn't been forgotten. It's just a very kind of large project, but it's, lots of good conversations have been happening with the group here and the web team and the blockchain team. So progress is happening, but I'm not sure when we'll have the full roadmap ready for you guys, but we will absolutely be talking about it regularly in town halls like this. So Jeff, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, we've definitely heard in the past 2 months that, when we give you rewards such as, Shadowcorn loot boxes and talk about minions, that we need to be more definite as to what those do and what value that provides to you. Um, and the difficulty is, when a feature is not going to come out, like Shadowcorn Act 3, for example, is not going to be here for several months. It's very hard to be definitive, especially with, changing economies and everything, to lock down designs. But I feel it's best if we take the time, do it right. Like Katrina said, get everyone on the team on board as to what our ability to build a great gameplay for Act 2 and Act 3, detailing that, explaining how Shadowcorns and minions work in Act 2 and Act 3 and beyond, um, allows us to be more definitive about things in Shadowcorn loot boxes and the value of minions and minion crafting. So we definitely will show you the whole plan for that in detail, and how Shadowcorns and minions fit into it, but it will just take some time to get that whole plan together and release it in an article and get your feedback. So that is coming in, and just going forward, we're going to try and do a better job at posting rewards and finite numbers up front when we can. It's difficult to do, while we're heads down with jousting and other features development, but we're going to try and do a better job of that just in general.
Yeah, and feeding off that and reiterating off of what Jeff and Katrina said, we have been putting a lot of thought into ironing out the Shadowcorn roadmap. As Shadowcorns will have an impact on virtually every area of the game, whether that be direct through raids or whether that be indirect through some other measures. One of the notable direct impacts Shadowcorns will have on the game will be through the tribes feature. So we can't get into the exact details on how that will function, but what we can do is look at how we're envisioning tribes currently and go from there. So one of the main goals of tribes is to implement a community like fill in game where players can check on each other's farm plots or help out around the farm, harvest berries, etc. And the members of that tribe work together to achieve a common goal, whether that be to upgrade buildings like infrastructure, defensive, or economic buildings, or whether that be to join forces to compete against other tribes or defend against incoming shadow corn raids. It's important to note that this feature will be very large in scale, and it'll be fully introduced over multiple parts, and will be over the long term. So it's important to kind of segment what we want to get out at first, and then just kind of build on there. And the first goal, like I said earlier, is to get people into a tribe and let them start seeing each other's farm plots. So implementing the community-like fill, giving them a building to work towards, and then adding on that throughout the remainder of this year and next year will be the plan for tribes.
Yeah. Regarding tribes, last year the team was focused on developing utility for unicorns, and we definitely have done that. This year, we're paying more attention to trying to grow our player base, and so with features like jousting that's going to come out, allowing players to play without needing a land, or with tribes will be the first feature that really connects the player base in game. Right now, every player is kind of siloed, but with tribes, you'll be able to see other players' activities and work together and be social. So we think that's going to be great just for the game experience itself, but also to help existing players mentor new players and help get them started and progressing and everything. Another feature to look out for in the coming months is like a version 2 of quests that are focused on the new user experience. So these are quests that are permanent that players entering the game will kind of guide them to do specific activities that are going to be helpful for them, and also give them rewards that kind of give them a kind of a boost to their player experience and get them really hooked into the game. So we also have that lined up, and then finally we're having an onboarding experience created to try and inform new players as to what the different parts of the game are and how they work. So features like tribes, new quests, early quests, and onboarding are just some of the things we're trying to do to grow our player base in crypto unicorns.
Yeah, I'm very excited for tribes. I think there's going to be a lot of fun stuff. I'm excited for players to be able to kind of work together and see their, farm next to their friends. So I think that'll be a really great addition to our kind of universe here. And then yeah, as Jeff mentioned, we have a lot of kind of onboarding focused things coming up. So that was something we really wanted to make sure we spent some time on. It's just, shoring up all of the pieces that we kind of didn't get to now that earlier. So now that we have more growth, we have to kind of make sure that the new experience for all the players that will join our game should make it easy for them to kind of get in and figure out what's happening. So definitely excited for all that. And then I think Corbin, you had an update kind of on the winter update and other things coming. So I'll let you jump in.
Yeah, so in terms of the winter event, we have a tuning release going out today, here in a few hours actually, that's going to introduce the Valentine's Day milestone event meta restructure in preparation for the event actually beginning on February 1st. So if you still have milestones to complete for the New Year's Day, make sure to get those complete prior to February 1st. The Valentine's Day event is going to be largely focused on accumulating and delivering sweets and other goods to a significant other via the event quest hookup. In terms of the meta changes, one of the big things we did was we reduced the amount of snowflake source from gathering, while we increased that for events, crafting, and poop collection. So as stated in the initial Medium blog post, each of the milestones event will introduce a new optimal way to obtain snowflakes and will require players to, shift their strategies. So be on the lookout for that tuning later today. The second thing I wanted to cover to close the opening remarks is the poop scroll proposal. This week, we released the proposal via forum, and it aimed to enhance the poop collection feature by revising the potential rewards included in the poop scroll reward bundles. The biggest concern there was the potential of decreasing seed output from poop collection. And we have a more in-depth response that LG and Nessa posted on the forum covering that. So if you haven't seen that yet, give that a look. But simply speaking, the poop scroll implementation aims to consolidate a portion of the random seeds earned through poop collection into one like-kind item. That would be the poop scroll. So you can use the poop scroll for the needed items for your operation, whether that be seeds or items that may require seeds to craft. So instead of waiting to receive 50 of each seed and then trading that via the RMP, those rewards are consolidated into one poop scroll that will be able to be redeemed for that. So it makes that process a lot easier for low to mid players. Generally, we believe this feature will achieve, both of the stated goals, which was, to enhance the poop collection feature and decrease seed output from collection, and will also slightly ease the new player onboarding experience as they have that new save mechanism. So I'm happy to answer any questions y'all may have in the AMA, or I can keep an eye out on forum for those.
All right, well, that's a lot of updates. We got jousting to shadow coins to tribes to the latest update to the latest forum proposal. If any of those topics caught your interest, this is the perfect time to ask about them. So without further ado, let us get this town hall started. We have a 3 questions per person rule. If a question has been answered previously, you'll have to ask something else. Any questions related specifically to your account or a Zendesk issue, please reach out to us on the mod support channel so the CM team can take care of it for you. There are also questions that are better answered by other specialists in Team LG, so we might have to get back to your question at the end of the town hall if that's the case. Don't worry, I'll make sure that they all get addressed. To ask a question in voice, please press the request to speak button. The button looks like a raised hand and you can queue up at any time. Once you accept your request, you'll see a green bar at the top of your Discord. Click accept to begin speaking. We also have written questions. It's on the town hall. Hold on. It's on the town hall bulletin forum channel on the town hall 29 thread. Take note that we prioritize spoken questions over written ones. You can also head on stage and ask any question that you may find there. But first up are the anonymous questions. We accept a maximum of 5 anonymous questions per town hall. Last I checked, there was 2 anonymous people asking anonymous questions. I will check back if there are more, but here's what we got so far. Let's see. So the first one is, ooh, interesting. Multiversal Ventures were partners developing Unigachi. Ferodo, that's a multiversal venture dev, says that they've handed back development of this game to the LG team. How far along is game dev? What are the future plans for this game? Is it possible to get a dev team from the Discord community?
Yeah, so we have like 90% of the content, all the art and animation we need for the V1. But the kind of gameplay and the actual Unity development behind it are not quite as far along. So, we are definitely open to having developers from the Discord community. So if you have developers or you want to reach out, certainly feel free, or maybe, put in the governance, we can kind of talk about that. I know Rice in here, she will have kind of, I think, a larger update around second party, all the things. So I think that I might wait for her to be able to kind of provide a more in-depth, but yes, it has been handed back. We have all of the content. We are looking to find a developer to help us out with that. I think that answers all the questions.
All right. So to update you guys as well on this, a couple of days ago, or maybe like a week ago, something like that, we did post an update about this on the second party updates channel. So you'll be able to see a better explanation about the entire situation on there. So check it out if you have time. And for those who want to be, community dev, want to work on this, please reach out to us. We can get this done via governance. Reach out to Algene and Nessa, and we can get a forum proposal started. All right, and next up we have another anonymous question. Hello, team. My question is about the metadata of CU. Lands, and etc. on OpenSea. When we unlock any item on game and back on OS to sell it, the sell slot is opening on OS. Oh, okay, I'm gonna have to stop this question right here because this is a question related to technical issues that we can handle via Zendesk. So we are going to reach out to you and check if you already have a ticket for this, and we'll make sure to address it privately. Okay, so I think that's all of the anonymous questions. Let me just double check. Yep, you got two today. That's it. Okay, now it's time for the spoken and written questions. We have two people lining up. First, we have the truth. Come on over, Chief. Hey.
Hey, how's it going? I have a quick question about maybe mini games and future planning. Is there any plans for a tower defense game? I know that there's already plans for some of kind of like a team activity or small mini games. Big fan of tower defense. I'm curious if that has been brought up or thought of yet.
I'm also a big fan of tower defense games, so um, it's it's definitely been mentioned and talked about, but we have no concrete plans. I think something the way we're thinking about building tribes and different stuff like that could potentially support it at one time, but it's not a active development plan at the moment. But I think it would be super fun to see a tower defense game be made with our unicorns. So kind of going back to the if you have developers who are excited to work on things, that would be a great governance. I would love to see a fun tower defense game in our universe. So I think that's a great idea. I'd want to play it too.
Cool, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, the truth. As a Plants vs. Zombies apologist, I'm big excited for that. Okay, next up we have Kaiser. Please come on over. Hey.
Hey, good morning. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you for the alpha this morning about the jousting and the other features. Well, since you mentioned jousting, I just want to just maybe check. I'm not asking for like a specific date, but do you think jousting maybe possibly next month, at least a demo for us to see, or at least something? Yeah.
Well, I don't want to give any exact dates, but we're in this kind of final stretch, so there is not like a huge long list. There's a lot of things that are almost done and kind of hooking up the final bit. So, I definitely think I want to do a demo, kind of a show off the build to you guys. We unfortunately don't have an easy way to kind of allow other players to play in it, but we can probably figure out a way to do kind of an internal demo. I definitely think that would be a fun thing to do. So it is getting close, but I don't want to make promises that I can't hold because we haven't done the final estimation of the last few things that are coming in from these playtests this week. So that's sort of the piece that's still a little bit open. Is there's some new ideas and things just from playtesting, which happens, want to be able to save time for iteration and improving the gameplay. So
Awesome, thank you. I have a second one. Second one is a QOL actually. I noticed that the name of our breeding boosters when it comes to tiers or evolution boosters, our tiers is like I and then double I, which is the Roman numeral. But then now you have the potions. The potion actually started with a tier 1 and then the potion name. Is it okay if we can standardize it to like power potion I and then power potion double I or something like that? At least we have the same naming convention on the uh, on the on the game. So I'm not sure if you guys are okay with that.
Yeah, that's a great idea and definitely an oversight on our part. We'll definitely get that um, in not today's release, but in the next release after that. But yeah, thanks for the suggestion. That's a good idea.
Awesome, thank you. I have another one. It's another QOL update. Uh, because before then we encounter issues whereby when you plant a seed, right, or when you plant something, sometimes when you plant it, it doesn't close the window right away. I also had an issue before where I cannot actually assign the uh, unicorn when I click the mouse for planting. I was thinking maybe uh, I mean, I want to know your thoughts about escape button. If you press the escape button on your keyboard, it closes the screen, whatever the screen is. Or the space button. If you press the space button, the first portion or whatever the portion is that you can assign to, it will open up the gathering. The unicorn assignation screen. Like for example, in farming, if you press the space, it will open up that screen where you can already assign unicorns. For gathering cards, since it's like 3 slots, or crafting, it will be 3 slots. Maybe the first one and then the second one and the third one when you press spacebar. I'm not really pushing the idea yet because I'm not sure how it's gonna work with, security measures with botting and such and such. But maybe what are your thoughts about this if we implement like the escape button and the space button?
I don't think I had thought about having the kind of hotkeys like that. I mean, we can certainly note it and kind of talk about it internally and see if there's any ideas. I know we're trying to have the kind of improved farming UI coming out in the near future, and definitely want to make kind of easier to play experiences. I kind of have to think about it. I don't see why the escape to close would be a problem. The space bar is a little more complicated. I have to think about, but I'll take a note. I already wrote it down as you were talking, so we can kind of chat about it in here.
Thank you so much. Sparkly, can I ask like one more question? I haven't run the math on this, but I'm not sure if I can ask a fourth question.
Oh, since the other ones were QOL, go ahead.
Okay. Um, okay, because I've been thinking about this idea. I'm not sure the economic impact of this. Um, because when we have events, right, we have leaderboards where maybe sometimes in the future we will provide unim to the users, right? So I was thinking, why not when we provide unim to users, they may actually sell it, change the token price and all these things. And some people maybe they just don't want to do that, and maybe they just want to use it for breeding. So what are your thoughts if you provide like a breeding ticket? Basically what it does is that if, for example, this unicorn is assigned to the nursery, uh, if you use the breeding ticket, it will cancel like a portion of that unim, or maybe you get a portion of the unim as a discount. I know it kind of um, disrupts the burning portion of the unim, but if, for example, you get a breeding ticket versus a unim, the user is more likely to use that to breed rather than to just sell it on the marketplace. I'm just wondering what are your thoughts about these functions for breeding tickets?
Um, we definitely get that the accumulation of unum can be a hindrance to newer players trying to breed. Yeah, this would be a good idea. The worry is that because of how breeding touches the blockchain, we tend to find that those are pretty high in development costs. I think it's something that we'd be open to, but given the huge amount of things on our plate, I'm not sure whether we'd want to prioritize that over things that we want to get out. But definitely we could talk internally about that and talk to engineering and see exactly how difficult that would be. I can't speak to dev wise how difficult it is, but we'll ask the dev team and see uh, you know how difficult something like that might be and look into it.
So
Yeah,
thank you.
and
Go on. Sorry.
and adding to that just slightly, Jeff touched on the idea of beginner quest earlier, which aim towards early game progression. So I think with that mechanism, if the worry is getting early game players enough resources to breed, we can divvy out the needed unim and RBW and plain berries in those beginner quests to where they can grind through those and eventually have enough rewards to do a breed. Adding to that, we have the breeding reward bundle in development, which will give every time you breed, it'll give you some reward for breeding. So I think with both of those combined, we hit 80% of what your requested feature would address, without needing to take the extra dev work and change how we interact with the blockchain.
Awesome. Actually, that's a good idea. I noticed it from the recent event post where now breeding can actually possibly get items. I'm looking forward to see that future if you guys have the time. But thank you for answering all my questions. Ooh.
Thanks, Kaiser.
Woo. Thank you so much, Kaiser. All right, now that we have the spoken questions out of the way, for now, Witty will be reading a written question from the Crypto Unicorns Town Hall 29 thread.
Okay, the first question we have is from Daleks. Doesn't the team think that the new poop collection feature might be bad for the RBW syncs? For now, we still have the RMP fees as an RBW sync. With the new update, this sync will also be gone and therefore might hurt RBW even more. How is the team planning on dealing with that? Why does LG give up the sync for free?
Um, how exactly are we giving up the RBW sync with the poop scroll feature? Um, I mean, if anything, it would probably make the price of seeds rise even further potentially. And then we do get a fair amount of RBW syncing through people buying from the RMP. Uh, yeah, I wouldn't consider this giving up a sync for free. It would definitely alter the current dynamic with seeds and seed prices, but I think it's I personally don't see it as giving up an RBW sync.
Yeah. So I mean, if we consider that this person's talking about saving up to 50 seeds from poop collection and selling to the RMP, and then purchasing the seeds they need, I mean, the buy and sell, they're pretty much offset, so it should have minimal impact on our RBW syncs there.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Mhm.
Sorry.
Alright, you go.
Yeah, all in all, I feel like the poop scroll discussion is very nuanced and it does deserve its place in the forum. So, for other people who have other questions related to poop scrolls and their use case, I think it would be best to answer the thread about the poop scrolls in our forums. That's forum.cryptounicorns.fun. We just posted a link on the general chat, so you can take a look at the discussion that's been going on. We can also answer you there, and it's just more visibility for the entire topic. All right, let's get the next question.
This one's from the Bows. Breeding is one of the most effective syncs in the game for both Unim and RBW, and also a fun game in itself that will rise in relevance once specific corn combinations are needed for the battle loops. When can we expect a smoother breeding experience?
This is something we have, on our roadmap for this year. It's sort of a kind of large project in various ways. So the blockchain team, we do have a plan. We have been looking at it, and so I don't have timelines for you guys, but it is high on our priority to make sure we can get that a little bit smoother, remove a few steps if possible. So it is in progress, and I agree we need to make that smoother, especially for new players. So we're going to work on it.
Alright, thank you. The next question we have is for Corbin. Corbin has the same last name as Aaron, right? What's the relationship?
That's an interesting question. Aaron is my cousin. That's our relationship.
Well, there you go, JRB. The next question we have is from SW Martin 19. What has been your favorite part about building a Web3 game thus far, and what has represented the biggest challenge?
I guess I could start. What is my favorite part about Web3? I think in some ways early on, I was very excited to basically throw away the mobile free to play playbook and kind of be a part of figuring out the new playbook of what works and what doesn't work. And I think it's grown into, you know, having a very different development process in terms of how we interact with the community. And I know we've, been trying to get better and better at this. And we've been changing kind of the who we're talking to and how we think about building features and how we do pre-production to be able to kind of give people more information, more transparency, while also kind of helping everyone learn the complexities of game development. Because Web3, just sort of the challenge side of this question is Web3 gaming is definitely way more complex with blockchain aspects to it. I think when I first joined, there was a lot of things like, well, can't we just go do this? And it was like, oh, no, that's actually way more complicated. Okay. I had to like realign my entire brain on how complicated certain features are and what is actually difficult and what is actually easy. And so that was sort of an adjustment period. And now it's sort of, the fun of being in a new space is also the challenge. Is It's hasn't been defined. You're at the front. We're kind of at the bleeding edge, and it's both exciting and challenging. So I think that's why I've been enjoying the Web3 space.
For me, yeah, it's seeing how tuning releases affects the broader economy is super exciting and way more rewarding than back in free to play, seeing how an update affects the player base. To have theories about how things work and see them, in some cases realized pretty well, in other cases not so much. But that feedback to changes in the game is something that just is a lot more exciting in this space than in free to play. The biggest difficulty, or one of the biggest difficulties though, is I kind of miss players being an account versus a wallet. It makes it a lot harder to construct a player experience when we're talking about wallets versus like a player account in which each player only gets one and can't really switch. That has proved to be pretty challenging in some of our design decisions because um, there's a lot of ramifications to be able to use different wallets. So that's probably something I dislike the most in the space, is not having just one player account that we could design around, but have to think through, okay, what happens with players with multiple wallets and things like that. But yeah, no, this is very different from free to play. Absolutely.
Adding to Jeff, I mean, yeah, the most exciting and the most difficult part of Web3 is operating, a live economy that's not segmented to that game, but our economy interacts with every other economy on the blockchain. So thinking through that and looking for or theorizing on ways where we can achieve our goals, that's it's fun, and then it's also fun to monitor the results of that, because everything we change in game, whether small or large, is going to have an impact on every other area. And so just planning through those changes and theorizing is what I enjoy the most.
All right, thank you for your answers. The next question we have from SW Martin is, I know the I know you're thinking and or trying all sorts of different marketing tactics. Do any of you have ideas of your own you'd like to see implemented here?
I don't know if I have like wildly different ideas. I think they're trying to, find partnerships and collaborations that work well. I know we're certainly trying to do, but I think is something that we can kind of continue to think about, of what projects would be fun to work with and collaborate with in different ways. I have like desires of having things that are more unobtainable in the like, with Starbucks being on Polygon, I was like, can we have unicorns on Starbucks cups? But that's sort of very complicated, difficult partnership. But those are the kinds of things I think I get really excited about, those kinds of ideas of interesting collaborations and partnerships. But they are hard to secure and take a lot of coordination and paperwork and all sorts of things when you get into companies of that size. So we're doing some more of the kind of airdropping of unicorns and doing it in different kind of ways to improve, how it all works. But yeah, I think that's all I've got. Jeff or Corbin, you guys have any ideas?
Yeah, and going off of Katrina's points of revisiting the Great Corn Drop and why we didn't see the rates we wanted to see from that, we've spent a lot of time this week discussing on how to improve that process going forward. Whether that be spreading the net to encompass more targets or to get ahead and reach out to our connections we have in those communities. So, there's a lot of things we're talking through for the next few marketing campaigns that we'll be looking to enact. But as always, I mean, we need the community's help in spreading the awareness of those campaigns. So if you have contacts in those communities, it's always good to reach out to them and say, hey, you can expect this reward in the future, and just make sure that we do everything we can to make those communities aware. So prior to starting these campaigns, we'll submit either a Discord announcement or Medium post or something to that extent that we'll discuss the criteria for these campaigns and our targets by week, and then we can work together as a community to make sure that we have the highest success rate on those campaigns as possible.
On my end, I would like to expand, the crypto unicorns universe to as many types of players as possible. With jousting, we're targeting players, who may not be interested in the land loops, but really want to joust. They'll be able to do that. A natural extension of gameplay like jousting, later racing would be, betting on those results. Definitely a very legal gray area that will have to be kind of navigated. But personally, if we can get to a point where, and you'll see when the jousting tournaments come out, it's really is exciting. But to be able to like bet on different unicorns and that, I think would bring in a whole other type of player who loves watching this is exciting gameplay. Don't know if we'll ever get to that point because of the legalities, but I really do think we're building some pretty cool gameplay that people who like to watch and bet could enjoy, and that'd be pretty cool to get those type of players into our ecosystem.
Quickly to add on the, games and things for different audiences. Another thing that, we have all the second party games, but, there's a lot of other mediums for content creation, and our unicorns are very cute. So this is sort of a call, or suggesting ideas if anyone wants to submit a governance proposal kind of idea. There's certainly a lot of great unicorn characters and some story, and I think we could have. I keep joking to myself that it would be so fun to have a little children's book or something with the unicorns, and that sort of, to me, is something that would be really fun to see, is people in the community who enjoy the art and the story and the kind of cute look of everything and built content. It's books or art or different things that kind of just get the crypto unicorns universe further out into different areas. So that I just had kind of that popped into my mind when you said appealing to different audiences, Jeff. So I wanted to add that.
Yeah, and that idea in the beginning about the tower defense, I'd be totally for that. I could see like an Omnom unicorn lopping meatballs at minions that are trying to get through and stuff. It'd be pretty fun.
Definitely.
All right, thank you. Well, I think everyone's down with the coffee partnership. The last question we have from SW Martin is, how was all of your holiday seasons? Any highlight you can share to help the community get to know you guys better?
For me, I had a lovely time visiting my parents in the Sierra Nevadas. I went skiing a bunch and ate lots of delicious food. So it was a fairly chill holiday season for me, but it was nice to visit family. And then the other big news was my in-laws finally moved from East Coast to West Coast, so now they're nearby, and we have all the family all in the same state. So that was kind of a big update for our holiday season.
Yeah, and on my end, similar to Aaron, we had a baby in the latter part of November, so pretty much all of December and early January, we spent working on our feeding schedules and sleeping schedules and all of that. So I think we finally got a routine down, but she still surprises us every once in a while by waking up at 3 in the morning, wanting to stay up and watch the news, or we're just doing little things like that. But in addition to trying to become a parent, we spent a lot of times with our families, and yeah, just enjoyed our time together, really.
On my end, got to really bond with my niece and nephew over the holidays. My sister's husband had to get some surgeries done, and so I spent a good chunk of the holidays watching after my niece and nephew and helping my sister. And I don't live in the same city as her, so it's hard for me to have quality time with them. So it's good to take that time and bond with them. Yeah, it was a good holiday.
Thank you. Chat says congrats on baby Corbin. Uh,
Thanks, everyone.
the last written question we have is from Bahis. What's the general sentiment on Web Unity? We seem to have a fair amount of issues with loading in assets and performance, especially with wallets that have maxed out their number of lands or a lot of coins. Is there a lot of frustration, or do we feel hopeful that it can all be sorted out? Does it take a lot of dev time, or just a low priority thing?
There's definitely some struggles that we have with Unity on web. I don't think it's things that we can't overcome, but it does take some dev time to kind of figure out. There is definitely a challenge of finding the right time to prioritize performance and improvements like that when we have everyone focusing on new content. But that's sort of we're always trying to improve performance and dedicate some time to it on a regular basis. And so, we have a pretty solid engineering team, and I definitely am confident that they can kind of figure out a lot of these things. But I do know that there are some limitations on web Unity that don't exist on mobile. So we had some challenges in kind of rethinking how we do things. But I also have been very impressed with the team and how we've kind of been able to optimize all of our animations for jousting. That was something we were, knew was going to have to happen because it has a lot of animations. But the team has done a really great job. The loading screens are very short at the moment, and it's been playing very smooth. So I definitely am optimistic that we can kind of apply some of those learnings and improvements to the farm scene as well.
All right, and the last question we have from Kaiser. Since the data is already inside, oh, you've been looking, haven't you? Mythic usability in farms. When?
Soon. We have part of the farming UI revamp is to support the visual side of this. So the server side piece, I believe, is done at this point, and now it's just kind of wrapping that up with being able to support the visuals on the client side of actually all the bonuses and stuff. So in the near future.
All right. When? Soon. TM. All right, so that's the last question, folks. Thank you so much for showing up to the town hall. Any questions in the Town Hall 29 thread will be answered by me later on as much as possible, although I do think we answered all the questions. Cool. All right, so do you guys have any closing remarks that you want to say before we go?
I know. I think thanks for all the great questions. It was fun to kind of be able to be part of these AMAs, and I look forward to the future ones.
Definitely. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you in a future AMA.
Yeah, thanks for all your great questions, and looking forward to getting your feedback on jousting as we roll it out. And I'll see you in a future AMA as well.
All right, and we all know what happens next. It's obligatory uwu time. Uwu.
Ooh.
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 The Jeff uwu is killing me. That gave me life. Okay, that concludes our Bi-Weekly Town Hall 29. We'll see you next for the Bi-Weekly Town Hall number 30 with CEO and co-founder Aaron Beyerschmidt. We appreciate your insights from the previous update and look forward to internalizing all the responses on the current game updates thread. Keep them coming. We'll post a recording of this town hall on our socials if you would like to give it a real listen. Don't forget to share this with your friends and fellow Unicorn Pam who couldn't make it. If you have more burning questions, feel free to reach out on our support channels, the Mod Support channel and the Ask the Devs channel. This has been the LG Internal Team's Town Hall, hosted by Sparkly Unicorn and Witty Unicorn. Good morning, good night, and see you in-game on Discord and in the forums, Unicorn fam. Bye, y'all.
Bye. Ooh.
Bye, 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 bye. Ooh. That's a wrap. We did it. We did it. Yay.